Okay, today obviously no glasses. I'm gonna see if that makes a difference. So I don't know what kind of games other kids play when they're little. I'm assuming things like house and, doctor, stuff like that. I did not play games like that when I was little. I played with Barbies, I played with dolls, that type of thing. My best friend when I was little was my step nephew, and we didn't play normal games. We were stuck inside. We played homeless people was what our inside game was. And I had a hallway in my house where all the doors would shut, and so we could get closed off in this hallway, and that was our alley, and we'd hide stuff under the carpet because the carpet pulled up in one of the corners. And so we played homeless people. We pretended to salvage for food and steal and things like that. And then we would play in my bedroom. We had this big colorful map of the Washington State Fairgrounds. We would pretend that we were in jail, and we had to map a route to break out of jail. And then when we would play outside, we played things like Street Kids, which is our outside variation of homeless people, where we built a little arcade out of wood. Anyway, we were street kids that way because we were outside. We were homeless outside, so we would pretend to go into the arcade and play arcade games. I don't know what that has to do with being homeless, but that's what we did. And then it gets even better. When I would visit my grandparents, Casey, and her brother Robert. If you don't know who Casey is, she's my cousin, and we make videos on Fairly Well Broccoli. When I would go to visit them, or when I would go visit my grandparents, they lived in the general area, so I would play with them, and I was the older kid. I grew up being the baby. I have two older brothers. They're 7 and 9 years older than I am, and I'm the only girl, so I didn't really have anybody to play with, and I got picked on because I was little. Well, here, I was the big kid, right? I was, 6 years older than them. But we would play fun games. We played restaurant, just like everybody else. We played some restaurant. We made some, dirt food, and would sell it. My grandparents gave us all of this, old plastic dishware. They got it, a garage sale. But we also played games like wood shop, which is okay, right? We'd get pieces of wood, and we'd get nails, and we'd hammer stuff together, or we'd carve things. We made cell phones out of pieces of wood. But then we started making guns out of pieces of wood, which, this is back in the 90s. This is, average. Guns aren't as scary as they are now, but with those guns, we played, which is, I think, one of the best games ever created by a child to play. We played Mafia, or Mobsters, and I can't remember specifically what it was that we would do when we were playing Mafia. But I do remember having our fake guns and, sneaking around, the walls of, the carport and the garage and stuff. And I'm sure we were, spying on somebody. I don't really remember. I just remember very distinctly playing Mafia. But we also played things like Talk Show. My grandparents had a dog, and they had, a line with the leash on it so they could put the dog outside, but he wouldn't run away. And that would be our microphone, and we'd stand up on the porch, and, Casey was usually, the talk show host, and then me and Robert would be the guests. We played school, but we played school a little bit differently. We played, college, so we were all in grade school, right? At most, I'm, 6th grade, and they're, 3rd grade, 4th grade, somewhere in there. And we would go in the house. This is when we had to stay in the house, and Casey was always the teacher or the professor, right? And me and Robert were the students, but we would go to our dorm rooms, right? And we would always fight over who got to be the bad kid, because there's always a good kid and a bad kid. And the reason you wanted to be the bad kid is because you got to use those long, skinny, white Legos. I've got some. I wish I brought them down here to show you, but you got to use those Legos, and you got to pretend to smoke because you were the bad kid, and we would fight over who got to be the bad kid. Casey never wanted to be a student. She always wanted to be the teacher. So me and Robert would always fight over who got to be the bad kid. And then when we would play with, Barbies and stuff, God, I love this. Casey used to, I don't think anybody but me and Casey are going to find this funny, but Casey, she was little, right? She was probably 6 or 7, and so my Barbies, right? My Barbies always wanted to have sex with each other or go on, huge adventures that were dumb. And they're, Barbie motorcycle, which I loved. It is. Anyway, so her Barbies always had to go to a ball. It wasn't a party, it wasn't a dance, it was a ball. They had to wear the ball gowns, and Robert and I wanted to throw them off the dresser and say they were like skydiving. She would get pissed. She'd get so mad. She'd be like, "No! They're going to a ball!" And she had the Rapunzel doll with all the hair, so we would grab onto the hair and like, it was skydiving. We wanted them to go skydiving. And then when, aside from playing with Robert and Casey, when I was younger, when they were too young to go out and play, and it was just me and all of my older cousins, and again, I was the baby, for like 5 or 6 years until Robert was born, and I was probably like 10, and so I had like my brothers, and then all my older cousins, and they're all boys. There was only 3 girls in like our group of cousins. There's me, Casey, and our cousin Tiffany, and I have like 13 cousins, the rest are boys. So they would always go and build forts, and you had to climb over all of these like fallen down trees to get to the area where they built the fort. And I was always begged to go, but I was so short. I'm short now, I'm only 5'2". But you know, I was littler then, and I couldn't climb over stuff, so they'd get mad, they'd have to pick me up and move me. And plus there was sawgrass, and I don't know if everybody knows what sawgrass is. I don't know what it's really called, but sawgrass it's just grass, but it's got like sharp sides to it that when you like, it's like you get like a paper cut when you walk past it. And I would come back to my grandparents' house covered in cuts from head to toe, and so I wasn't allowed to go anymore. Oh, when we used to play hide and seek, like I remember we used to go to my aunt's in some place, I don't know where it was, but we would go visit my aunt somewhere, and I was too little to hide by myself, and so they always stuck me with my oldest brother, who hated having me with him because I've never been able to like breathe through my nose very well, so I would breathe through my mouth. Now I'm more conscious of it now, but when I was little I didn't pay attention, and I would just breathe really hard. I'd be like like I just breathed really hard when I was little, and so we would go hide, and they'd always find us because they could hear me breathing, and so they never wanted me to play with them. I was so, you know, when you're little, you're like, just play with me, please, but nobody wants to play with you because you're little, and you're bugging them. Oh, so my friend and I, when we were little, I shared a bedroom with my brothers for a while, so we had bunk beds, and I was on the top bunk because I was the youngest. And we would take yo-yos and like throw them off the side and like hold on to the end and be like fishing for stuff, and the other person would sit at the bottom and tie stuff to the bottom of the yo-yo, and you pull it up and be like, "Oh, I caught, you know, my shoe, I got a sock, yeah!" And then one time, he went to go do it, and he like flew right off the bunk bed, landed in a chair and broke the chair. It was kind of funny. So, I've got some ideas of some videos I want to do in the future, some things that I think are kind of cool, but if you have any ideas or have anything you'd like me to talk about, let me know, and have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.